Turn heads with these clay dangle earrings. Hi, I'm Mihaela from Learn Polymer Clay, and let's dive in. For a beautiful faux ceramic effect, I decided to mix 1 part translucent polymer clay with 3 parts white polymer clay. I put it on top of a beautiful leafy textured sheet, and I put them both through the pastel machine, and then I flipped this sheet of textured clay, and I applied another sheet of polymer clay. I've used parchment paper to gently press them together, and then I'm going to use a stencil with a very interesting design, and I've been using this stencil a lot recently for several projects because I like it very much. And I like it especially because it allows you to color around the stencil. Normally, you will find stencils and you'll apply the color inside the stencil. Usually, when I want to have a beautiful faux ceramic effect, I go with navy blue pan pastel, and I use an applicator to apply the navy blue pastel around the piece and sometimes on top of the stencil, and then you just have to use baby wipes to gently clean the stencil. And you'll notice when removing the stencil you will get a very beautiful floral design on top of the clay, and blue all around. And anyway, when applying pastels and other powders on top of the clay, and if you decide to use resin, UV resin for the finish, you'll have to be very careful to leave gaps, areas where the clay is not covered with powders. If not, the resin might not catch very well. And then I just used a round cutter to cut the shape for my bead. I'm going to cut like a triangle shape in the bottom of the piece, and in fact I'm using a diamond shaped cutter to cut out this opening, but of course you could use the craft knife and just cut this area out. Next, you just have to use your smoothing tools and smooth off the edges and the area around the bead. And of course, when making earrings, you'll have to repeat the same steps again to make the second bead for the second earring. And in order to have a beautiful, slightly curved shape for these beads, I decided to bake them on metal, on a domed metal base wrapped in metal foil. And then I thought that I could spice these pieces up a little bit. So I decided to use some white scrap clay passed through a thinner setting of the pasta machine. I applied gold metal leaf on top. I gently pressed the metal leaf into the clay, and then you'll just have to use the smallest of the etching pearl tools and cut out tiny golden pearl beads. And I'm going to use liquid clay to attach them to the upper part of the floral design. Normally, when using the etching pearl, you would take the etching pearl, you would cut out, you will press it into the area that you want to capture, into the polymer clay area that you want to capture. You would rotate it left and right, and the clay would be captured inside the etching pearl, and then you have to press it into a new piece of polymer clay, and you will end up with a beautiful pearl on top of the clay. But because I don't want to disturb this pattern, I decided to use the etching pearl to cut and form the pearls, but then I'm just going to take them using the tip of my craft knife, and I've used liquid clay to attach them. And I really think that this little accents give the final earrings a very beautiful faux ceramic effect. After applying these tiny pearl beads into the clay, do use your fingers or your tools to gently press them into the clay to make sure that they adhered well to the polymer clay. And then I use the tiny cutter to make a hole just on top of the area that look just on top of the cutout area. Then I baked the pieces for 45 minutes in the preheated oven. I tinted them with an aluminum disposable pan to protect them from direct heat, and I've baked them on parchment paper to avoid having a glass-like look on the back. I let the clay cool down, and then using a brush, I applied a generous layer of UV resin, and I used a UV lamp to cure the resin for 2 consecutive minutes. And now the beads look something like this. You'll have to check to see if you need to sand your pieces. Normally, if I did a good job when smoothing the edges, I should not have to sand, but if I have to, I would use sanding paper and water and sand the pieces. So you should check if you need to sand the pieces, and also if you notice pan pastels on the back or on the sides or in areas where you don't want to have pan pastels, you can use sanding paper or sanding tools to remove the pan pastel, to sand off the pan pastel. And then I used a hand drilling tool to poke a hole in the upper part of the bead, and this will allow me to attach the bead to earring findings. And in order to finish these earrings in style, I decided to use a crystal drop bead to add a little bit of sparkle to the design. And so I also used some metal olive shaped beads. And initially I wanted to use the cutout element as well, but then I felt that the earrings were kind of too long, so I discarded that element. And because I used the gold metal leaf, I decided to use golden findings for these earrings. And so I used round ball pins and an olive shaped metal bead, and also a crystal drop bead. And I used heart shaped jump rings to attach the elements together, and you will notice them when you look from the side of the ring. And I finished by using a beautiful flower filigree stud earring component that I thought would beautifully complement this design. And I've also used some gold metal hexagon elements to give this dangle earring design the length that I wanted for these earrings. And these are the finished earrings. And because I felt that this design was not yet quite finished, I decided to use some gold metal wax and color the margin of the bead, and I thought this would be the final element that puts together this faux ceramic design. And now I really like how these earrings turned out. So as a side note, I wanted to tell you that I was wearing these earrings some time ago, and I was standing in line buying a hamburger for my son, and all of the sudden, I'm hearing the cashier saying that I had beautiful earrings, and of course, I thanked her, and I did not say it loud, but inside I said to myself, "I've made them," and I felt very proud of myself that particular moment. And this is exactly what I want for you. I want you to make beautiful faux ceramic earrings for yourself and really feel proud of the compliment that you are going to get when wearing them. Thank you for watching the tutorial. If you liked my teaching style and my clay inspiration, here's what to watch next.